relentless on getting things right. And those were typewriter days. So, again, like the blessing and the curse. So, unfortunately, like a lot of things have to be restructured. But honestly, I feel like that was my best training ground. Get it right, be professional. Because when we're product with CT friendly, walking through this month, they're excited. It's something that you have to do. So, it's just like everybody. So, for professional, the same call. So, it's just like, you can. So, like I said, but I totally appreciate it. It's something that I really enjoyed. Alrighty, we're getting it back. Okay. Okay, guys, if you didn't get a chance to vote, our internet or light connection's back. Yours may not be. You may have to use Wi-Fi. But I hardwired it. I just hardwired it. Are we recording yet? No, because it's lost, so we won't be able to record on yours, right?
This is your screen, right?
I
Oh,
hardwired it.
you hardwired it here. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Okay,
So
you
we
changed
don't,
the input.
so we can't record.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. We are going to start. We had a false start, but now we're going to really start. So, I asked you guys to vote, and so it looks like prices have stabilized 40%, not enough inventory. Prices are declining 20%. Prices are increasing 20%. Seeing lots of multiple offers. I missed not to put that one on right, the last one. Listings are taking a long time to sell. I don't know if that's a reality or not. Are you guys seeing that? So, a little bit, yeah. So it's kind of the market's a little bit all over the place. And it's interesting, I just listened to a podcast. I'll try and get the link and send it out because it was a really well done podcast about what things are going and how we're kind of experiencing this little bit of a yo-yo real estate market. And I thought that's a great way to describe it. So, anyway, welcome everybody to our second Knowledge Feast. We are going to be doing these monthly, as you know, and today I wanted to go back to my Slido. I just realized, sorry. I have a second. So if we don't have internet, I don't have, I can't do any of my Slido things, so we're not going to do Slido. I just realized.
Slido just work?
No, it's not for my computer,
Oh,
because I'm
do your
not
computer,
giving it
okay,
internet.
yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about what the market looks like to you. So we'll just do without Slido. So I wanted to ask you guys to dream big regarding your real estate career. And does anyone feel bold enough? I was going to have you do the little bubble answers, but what does the real estate this year look like to you? Like, what do you want it to be? If you were to dream big, what does your dream look like? Shout it out since we don't have Slido. Anyway?
Kind of broad, but
I mean, what is your big dream for your career in real estate this year?
help as many people as I can.
Okay, but be a little more specific, because you won't know if you've done that or not if you just say as many.
Right. Well, I have my
People.
goals of figures and people, but
So throw it out there, be big and bold.
I want to help at least 30 different clients.
Excellent, that's a great goal, I love it. Okay, anyone else want to give a big, bold goal? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so achieving big dreams. I want you guys, hopefully at least in your head, you came up with a tangible, real big dream that you want to go after this year. And with that, achieving big dreams, you first of all have to have the dream. And I think too often in real estate, we don't solidify what we really are going after. Excuse me. And then you have to believe. A la Ted Lasso, believe. He's coming back on March 15th, by the way. But gotta believe. You gotta believe in that dream. And then you have to make a plan. That's a lot of what we're going to talk about today is making that plan. And then you have to take action. Last month we talked about do it now. Who's wearing their bracelets? And does anyone have a story of how do it now helped them last month?
I do.
Oh, Share.
So there were a couple times where I was like, oh, this is like the thing that I least want to do, but I knew that it would bring the most effect to my business, so I just was like, do it now. And actually it was like when I literally was like looking like this and then I saw the bracelet. So
I love it. Oh.
Good one, Pasha.
You raised your hand? Sorry, I cut you with a mouthful.
One thing about it, there's times where I would get super tired when it comes to making videos on social media. And every time I would film a video, I'd be like, okay, this is enough. But then I would see other realtors like making more videos, and I'd be like, oh, I gotta step it up. I'll make 4 videos.
Awesome.
Because my plan or my goal is to make 4 videos a day in order to see results, like viewers and all, like attract clients, you know. And so the more exposure, the more the better.
And you are going to be sharing with the office
Yes.
later this year on social media and doing videos and such. So we've got an all-star here that uses the do it now. I found that too. I found that doing it now has really, I've kind of worked it into my daily mantra. The bracelet helps, and I actually am seeing myself achieve more, have better success, getting rid of some of the little things that you just kind of pushed aside a lot, and just jumping on them and getting them done, and it just feels so much more accomplished. So I hope you guys will really take that to heart. But I also noticed that when I stopped thinking about the do it now, I started to go back into my old pattern. So you really do have to keep it at the forefront of your thoughts. We'll have a chance at the end of today's meeting to put it to work again for this next month's challenge. So we just finished the Super Bowl and Valentine's Day. That's why I'm wearing my post-Valentine's Day pink. But the Chiefs won. But I'd say everyone that made it to the Super Bowl were winners. And when an elite athlete is ever interviewed, they always talk about how they were dreaming from the time they were young about making it to the major leagues. And they also had, like we talk here, they had to believe in that dream. And then they had to work hard for that dream. They had to, do practices, and they had to do drills and train long, long hours. They also had to work through their pain and injuries and losses sometimes. And it's kind of what we have to do sometimes to achieve our dreams. However, the really interesting thing about our dreams is where an elite athlete has to have, God-given talent and abilities. In real estate, I don't want to say the bar is low, but that it isn't that. I mean, we don't have to have some special super abilities to succeed in real estate, but we do have to believe in what we're going after and really work towards it with the action steps. And that's what I'm going to kind of drill into today. But a lot of believing starts with our self-talk. And, we talk to ourselves all throughout the day. It's the voice we hear the very most. And so I want you, in conjunction with the dream big that hopefully you thought about at the start here, I want you to kind of come up with some self-talk. But you have to talk in the affirmative like it's already happened. So, I am a top producer. I am going to sell 100,000, 500,000, $1 million in gross commissions this year. I mean, somebody has to do it. And then you have to take the action then to stand behind that. But when you start saying these affirmations, I know sometimes our mind kind of starts to play tricks on us saying, well, I've never done that before, so I can't do it now. It kind of saying the little BS card on it, on what you're trying to affirm in your head. So I want you to add a third thing there that is very attainable, and that is I'm committed to doing the action steps that we're going to talk about here today. So taking, making that plan and then taking the action so that it really happens. So the gist of today, I said, the number one prospecting method that for your success this year in real estate is going to involve stepping up your game with your sphere this year. And I want to show you how important this is using some numbers that are very real and tangible. First of all, I want to ask you guys, because having a good database and having a good sphere is where that starts. So I want to ask you guys, wanted to ask you guys, first and foremost, if you were putting together a list to your wedding today, how many people would you invite? If you were getting married today, how many people would you be on your guest list to your wedding?
Would you and Ed pay for it? Because then I'd invite a lot of people.
Well, I know with our wedding, it was around 250, and we struggled to get it down to that. My mom and dad were like hoping we could get it a little lower. But they say on average, people invite around 200 to an average, nice wedding. How many people are in your Facebook account? I just went and looked at mine, and I'm not even of the age that should have well, I guess I'm of the age that would have Facebook more than anything, but I have 1,000 people in my Facebook account. Instagram, and I've not really gone after that, 424. And LinkedIn, 500 plus. Now, like 499 of those are lenders that want business from me, but it's easy to build these social medias up. But this is all part of your sphere. So whether or not you've got a database of 100 or 500 or 1,000, you've got people in your sphere that you're probably not tapping into. And it's important to realize that and really expand who is in your database. So, I want to show you the power of multiplication. Let's say that you had 150 people in your sphere, in your database. Recognize, and they say that's pretty legitimate, that most of us have about 150 people that would be in our sphere. Well, recognize that each of those 150 people that are in your sphere also have 150 people in their sphere. So within your reach, if you take 150 times 150, there's 22,500 people that are just one arm's length away from your connectedness in real estate. Now, NAR says on the average, people sell about every 9 years. And so out of your database, that means that you have 16 people that are gonna sell 16 sales that are gonna occur in your sphere every year out of those 150 people. If you multiply that out with your whole extended sphere, now you've got 2,500 sales that are in your extended sphere each year. And you might say, yeah, but some of these are overlapping because people that are in my sphere also have some of the same people in their sphere of 150, so it's not really gonna multiply out that big. And some of those are husbands and wives, and I'll give you all that. But also, it says people sell on average every 9 years. Well, don't a lot of people that sell, or most people that sell, go on and buy something? And even if they buy out of state, that's a nice, easy commission to make just by making a nice phone call to get them connected in an with an out of area realtor, do a little investigation there, or just talk to Karen Quinn, she always gives good leads. Good referrals out of state. But at any rate, that's an easy commission to make. So you've got a lot of these people that are selling every 9 years that are also buying. So no matter how you look at it, you've got a lot of transactions within your reach every year. And so I want you to really think in terms of this is where the money is in real estate, not only this year, but every year. Let's bring it a little closer to home. I asked Kelly to give me the pie chart of where our business comes from as an office. And when I talk sphere or database, this is who I would be including. The social sphere for sure. Repeat business, isn't that also from our sphere? So sometimes you wouldn't even know which one to put that under. Referral business, again, coming from our sphere. That's the 150 to the 150. So that's part of our database reach. And then, let's see, moving up here to family, that also would be part of our reach. When you add all those up, and I do it every year, it's usually, well above 70, but this year it actually was 80%. 80% of our business last year came from our sphere of influence and database. So when people are always looking for the new best way to prospect for business, I want to say, take a look at the numbers. It comes from our database, based from our sphere. But I think too many agents aren't working this as big and as bold as they truly could be to get those leads that are within their reach. And so, let's see. So that's why I am saying that the number one area for us to get business this next year is from our sphere, and we need to put together a plan that's really going to go after doing that. Now, quite often especially with newer agents, when I'm talking about making contact with their sphere, they're really afraid of doing it because they don't want to come off as a pushy salesperson. Amen to that. I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly. So I think that you need to look in terms of, instead of pushing yourself on your sphere, you want to attract business from your sphere. And that's what today's plan of action is going to be focusing on. A number of years ago, as in like 30, Hughes, Ellen, Ed, and I did a presentation over at the Board of Realtors. This was back when we worked for Lakeview Real Estate. But we talked on different things, and my part of it was harbor your sphere of influence, utilize your expertise. You will never have to ask for the business. And this is truly how we did, as it says up there, $20 to $30 million. And we did that for over 20 years. We did that kind of production. But not only that, it's when the average home price was $250,000. So, you know, we were doing a lot of business, and we weren't out there pushing ourselves on people or asking for business. We did it in a way that attracted business to us. And I just recently, I mentioned it last month, but I just recently read a book called The 7 Levels of Communication. I'll give all this information at the end. But in it, Michael J. Mayer talks about a lot of the things I want to present here today, and I couldn't align with him more in the way he goes about attracting business. He calls himself the generosity generation, the Gen, is what he calls all the people he coaches. But it really is something that we all have the ability to do, and it's so much more fun to work the business that way. In Cottonmouth. So, let's get started. Did you guys know that in real estate we all have a superpower? And this is the perfect month to talk about this superpower, because our superpower is love. And love is a superpower. And what I mean by that is that when we do business, we need to do it in a way that's generous and giving. Too often when we reach out to clients, the traditional way to do it is to be more kind of what I'd call egocentric. I just listed, I just sold, look at my numbers, look at my office numbers. I mean, that's so much what we do in real estate in order to attract business. But the truth of it is, that's so egocentric, and the idea of the generosity and giving is to be more client-centric. And that's, I'm gonna talk a lot about some ways to do that that takes the focus off ourselves so it's not uncomfortable and puts it more on the client. Now, the second part of, so that's proactive love, that's giving out. The other part of love is appreciation. And I think this is one of the things that gets underdone within our real estate business. We tend to give maybe a nice closing gift at the close of an escrow and show our appreciation that way. But I think there's so many other ways that we can show appreciation to our clients. And appreciation is really reactive love. So writing notes to people, and in those notes, giving ways that we can, that we admire, saying things that we admire and like about them, and building them up through those notes of appreciation. Or thanking for business, not only at the end of a transaction, but throughout the transaction. Why not give little gifts as you go through the listing or the buyer process or the escrow process? Things to help them feel good as they're going through the transaction. On our 805 Academy, I'll share that info later, but we have 2 videos on delivering 5-star service. One's for buyers and one's for sellers. And in that I give a lot of ideas on how you can go about being appreciative throughout the transaction. And then also when we deliver a closing gift, or like a closing gift, also we used to always deliver the closing papers, and I realize most agents don't do that. They have escrow just send them to the client. But stopping by with the closing papers and the closing gift just puts a nice little bow on the closing of the transaction. So I highly encourage you guys to do that, not just have those sent out, because it also allows you the opportunity to have a little conversation with them and deliver oftentimes a nice check. Then thanking for referrals. I can't tell you how often I'll ask, somebody will tell me about a referral they just got, and I go, oh, what'd you do to thank them? And it's like, oh, I haven't done anything yet. A lot of times people forget to thank for referrals, and it's so important. And I think it's important even how you do it, because oftentimes a referral is generated, like they might say, I have a friend that's gonna be calling you because they want to list their home, or they're thinking about buying. And you always wanna say, oh, can I get their information? I'll follow this down. And sometimes you're able to, but sometimes you're not. But either way, no matter whether you get the information or you don't, sometimes it can be a little while before you actually make that connection. So I always wait a day, like a 24-hour period after the referral's been given, and then I'll drop by with a nice little thank you gift. We used to do a dozen cookies from Donna B's. Sadly, she's not here anymore, but she did it. She had a nice little custom house box that she put the individually wrapped cookies in a nice, beautiful bow, so it had a fun presentation to it. And I'd take that by with a little note. If I caught them, I'd talk to them with what was in the note. If I didn't, my note said, you know, gee, we're really looking forward to working with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We haven't made a connection yet, but we're looking forward to giving them our very best Right Team service. So that way, I've let her know that we haven't connected yet. I've delivered a nice gift, and now all of a sudden, she's even more on board with trying to make that connection for us, and she becomes my advocate in making sure it really follows through. If the connection's already been made, then I just let them know that, and that we're looking forward to meeting with them on Tuesday or whatever, so whatever it might be. But thanking for referrals is so critical. And it's also powerful if you think again at the close of the successful transaction, because now you know, they're even more thankful that they gave you that referral, that it came through. You know who the most likely person is to give you a referral? Any guess? Yes.
Person you're working with right now.
Very, very true. Somebody you're working with right now, giving that kind of service where you're showing appreciation, you're doing a good job, you've got good skills, and the other really valuable person to get referrals from is somebody who has referred. Because they're a connector. They're somebody that wants to connect people, and they will do it again in the future if they feel like it went well and you were appreciated. So, first, before you can get referrals, you gotta be top of mind. So let's get started on the actual plan of getting this all put together. So in order to have referrals, you have to first start with your database. And again, it's really interesting to me how often agents don't really have their database in a really functional, good system. So it doesn't really matter what system you use. Like what CRMs are you guys using out there?
LionDesk.
LionDesk is really good. That's offered through our board. I'm going to turn the fans on. It's a little warm in here.
Top producer.
Top Producer, that's an excellent one. I would say even if you're using Outlook or Apple Contacts, those all work. Is that okay? Oh, that one's on a little high. You may want to pull that. There's other paid programs like Buffini. There's so many of them out there, and they all work, but they only work if you use them. I've seen so many people pay for really nice ones. I think, Will, you guys have the super deluxe one. Which one is that? Ruby, yeah, and that's spectacular, and I know you guys are using it to its full function. But yeah, there's some really great ones out there, but the one that you will use is the best one. Now, I sometimes have people tell me, you have to pull the cord, I think. Sometimes people will tell me that they use an Excel spreadsheet or they use MailChimp. And to that I would say, those are not CRMs. They're good assists in sending out information to people, but they aren't really a CRM, because a CRM needs to be something that you can write a lot of information in about your clients. You need to be keeping, as Ed always says, it like an FBI file on each person. You want to log conversations, have information about their kids and their dogs, and last time they bought a house from you. If you're in the business long enough, you're going to have people that buy and sell multiple times with you. Yay! And you have multiple closing gifts that you might give them. You want to log those in so you aren't giving them the same bathrobe every time they close. And so things like that. So you want to definitely have a really good system for keeping notes on a client. You also need to have information so that you can text them, you can call them, you can email them, you can mail them, all different ways to connect with them. And if you don't have all that information in your CRM, or you don't have your CRM fully built, then to that I would say you're probably dreaming too small because you don't have your systems in place, or perhaps you don't believe that you're going to get it done. So if you have trouble or you don't have complete data on everybody, there's easier ways today than ever to connect with people and get that information. You can do personal messages through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can text people to get the rest of their information. If in fact you are struggling, or even if you do have a good database and you want to kind of do a double check, this is a list that we always give our newest agents, and it says, who do you know? And it's just all sorts of different people you may or may not have thought of to add to your sphere and put in your database. So I'll pass this around if anyone wants it. But there's 3 pages there, so there's a lot of ideas. Now, as you, one of the things we did when we were trying to switch, that's how ancient we are, when we were trying to switch from snail mail, we were still gonna do some of that, but we were trying to get everybody into an email system, and a lot of people weren't on board with email yet, or sharing their email with anybody. It seems so funny today, but they really didn't wanna do it. And so we set up a contest, and we called it, we wanted to put them in our Hall of Fame, and we needed to get their information, that we'd be emailing them regularly with good updating, or good information that they would find helpful. And so we had a little contest to get all that information, and contests can be a powerful way to gather additional information if you're struggling to get it all in. But we had like a weekend away and dinners out and that type of thing. And I think we even had lunches at Ruby's because we were known as the Ruby's family. But once you pull all this database together, then you're gonna want to create 3 categories. The first category is gonna be ambassadors, and you can call them whatever you want, your A's, ambassadors, whatever. But these are influencers and connectors. These are people that, and we all know them, that they are always putting people together because they're connector type people. And you wanna have a good solid 12. I like 12, there's 12 months in a year. Jesus had 12 disciples. I just think it's a good number, a good manageable number that you can work with. And we're gonna do more for these people, of course. Then the champions, I think it's really good. These are people who like, know, and trust you, and hopefully would use you if they were to do a transaction, or perhaps have used you in the past, but they're not so much the connector people, but they love you. These people, I think you wanna have a good solid group of 100. And if you work as a husband and wife team, you probably wanna work with 200. And you may go to 24 ambassadors. I know Ed and I did that. We had more like 24 because we did things a little differently as a couple. But then everyone else is the 3rd category. And for that, it's unlimited because email doesn't cost whether you send it to 5 people or 5,000 people. So, unlimited for everybody else. But you want to keep in touch with people, even if they're out of state, because they know people still in state. Or, they may be moving from one state to another, and they can refer. Or you can help them with a referral. Now, be sure, this is another place where I see agents kind of drop the ball, if you will, is they don't have a system to continually update their database. So every time you close a transaction, have it on your closing sheet to update the information so that you move their new address and maybe new phone numbers and such into your database. If you have an event, which we're gonna talk about that, if you have an event, you wanna add the people that come to the event to your database. An open house, if you meet people through open house, be sure they get added into your database. And I just had a daily, or excuse me, not a daily, I had weekly, I think back, I had a little reminder on my to-do list. Think back, is there anybody I met this week that I should add to my database? Because you meet people all different ways. Now that you've have your database all put together, which is foundational, and let me just say, it will take, if you don't have your database all set up, it takes so much longer time than what people think, but it's so important, so please take the time to do that. But now you want to be top of mind to everybody. And the top of mind comes through consistency and personal contact. I say that all the time to agents. But the consistency and personal contact are so crucial to that top of mind awareness. And so I'm gonna go through a system of all different ways that we can touch and who you should be touching through these different ways. You may adapt it a little differently to you, but this is a solid, good program that if you do this, you will be doing more business this year than you've ever done before. But first and foremost, emails. And emails, the really cool thing, I say weekly here because the really cool thing is it keeps you top of mind on a weekly basis and it makes you easy to contact or refer. I remember one day running into some clients at the bagel shop and she said, oh, my neighbor's getting ready to move and I'm gonna be referring them to you guys. And it's like, oh, great. Do you want me to send you our business card so that you can give them all our contact? And she goes, oh no, I have it, it's on your email. And it's like, but we weekly email to everybody. So it was really nice to know that that was working to keep us top of mind and our contact information. Now, the thing with emails, if you're gonna be sending things to them weekly, you don't wanna just become a junk email that people don't wanna receive anymore and they delete you. So you wanna be going back to that generosity and giving. You want to be sending out things that are going to be interesting, entertaining, informative to them, so that it doesn't become, icky to them. And so in this, you wanna be client-centric, remembering that not everybody always is in move mode. So, entertainment is a really good category. Right now we have the Academy Awards coming up. We used to every year do an Academy Award voting contest that they could vote for their, who they think the best movie, best actor, best actress, just supporting and that type of thing. And ask them to send those in. Community information, things like best beaches for kids or best beaches for dogs, and kind of outline all the best beaches, or best burgers in Orange County. Things like that are just kind of fun and entertaining and engaging to get. Do-it-yourself projects is always something that people are really enjoying, and life hacks. Market updates. So far what I've kind of talked about has been a little bit more giving in just a fun way, but you do want to present yourself as a professional as well. So the Stephen Thomas update, I know a lot of you guys send that out, really good to send out. The company contests that we do, Terry does, those are awesome, really good way to keep in contact with people. And here's one that I had not thought of, but it was presented in the book, and I really love this, and that's success stories. The idea being that when you have a transaction, we're all problem solvers, and we do things that are above and beyond, and I think in this office is far more professional than what other places do. And so with that, it's important to kind of tell those stories in a way that attracts business to you and shows how you go above and beyond. So let's say you have a difficult situation that another realtor probably wouldn't have addressed and helped the people through. Tell that story. Right when I was reading the book, I came across this. Maybe it'll work now. Yay, it will. This is actually an acupuncturist that Ed uses, but she posted this on social media, and I thought it was really clever.
Your pain.
Oh, it's not going to go through.
What do you do? You go to ER? You can do that. Or you contact us here.
Okay, well, she goes on and tells a story how when she was on Christmas Eve, this 75-year-old woman came in and she could not even bend over to pick up her cat, and she was able to help her that night and get her in a place where she was 80% cured and able to be with her family. And so she's saying, I'm here for you, even on Christmas Eve type thing. And so when you do things above and beyond, write up the story and then post about it in a way, if you ever know of anyone that's in this similar situation, I'd love to be there to help. So that's the idea here. Mailings is the second one. And mailings, I think you want to do mailings either monthly, ideally. If that feels too much or too costly, then perhaps at least quarterly. But not everybody is going to be in a place where they can get your social media posts and your emails and everything, and so they may delete you from an email list, but the mailings are something that they're gonna get in a different format. So monthly's ideal because it gives them, again, your contact information. Postcards are powerful because even if they don't, keep it, it goes in the trash, they see your name and contact information as it's going into the trash. But it's kind of fun if you were to create a template of what you do with any of this stuff. So, maybe you do the quarterly you do the contests, and every month maybe you put out the market report from Stephen Thomas. There's just different things that you can do that way. But again, you want to be client-centric, and I know like the Buffini newsletters that go out, those are always very client-centric, and so there's no shortage of content. Oh, darn it.
Angie, can I say something?
Yeah, please.
When we did the Buffini quite regularly, you categorize your clients A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
So A's were the people that you're talking about, your ambassadors that are going
Right.
to give you multiple referrals, and then B's would be more likely to refer you. So you categorize them as to how often you would mail to them. So
Oh.
some you wanna touch base maybe every week or 2 weeks, and some quarterly. If they're a C or a D, you don't have to mail them every, so it's a way to kinda help budget your mailing expense.
Really good. And the other thing with mailings, I think, Amy, you told me that if you have 200, you can bulk anywhere, right? So 200 is a good number to get to, where I'm talking 112 in your A's and B's, or if you wanna call them that.
I think it's
Uh,
250, isn't it?
Pardon?
I think it's 250 to get bulk mail.
No,
It's
200.
It is?
200.
So, at any rate, so those are good things to drive towards, but yeah, if you're gonna, maybe mail a little heavier to your A's, I'm gonna give you some other things to do for the A's. But, so I would generally say that your emails should go to everybody, your mailings are gonna go to your A's and B's, we'll call them, but your ambassadors and your champions. And so you wanna be there pretty regularly though to them through the email and then the mailings. If you have any struggle getting content, Breakthrough Broker is really good. It's offered by Lisa Vadova through Orange Coast Title. They've got some really good postcards and such that they, see if it'll come up here. Is that my internet down? Yeah, here. But they've got really good postcard systems that you can do, either holiday minded or recipes. You can even do buy versus rent campaigns, it looks like, just all sorts of different things that they offer. And it's all postcards that you can get branded to you, so easy. You don't have to recreate or create everything from scratch. It's nicely done. And I'll share some other content here, or places you can go for content too, as we go through. Now, social media, this is where I think it starts to get a little bit more personal and really sweet. I was telling you that, you know, you wanna go through your social media as far as your Facebook and Instagram and different accounts that you might have, and make sure those people are in your database and sphere of influence. But the other way it goes too. So if they're in your database, you wanna search out and make sure if they are on Facebook or Instagram or any of those, that you're connected to them. LinkedIn. LinkedIn's one that gets really overlooked, and I think it's so important because we are professionals, and a lot of professionals aren't necessarily, especially men, don't tend to be as much on the social media. I'm being very stereotypic here, probably politically incorrect, sorry. But at any rate, LinkedIn does tend to be a different people group, and it's one of the ways, like when I'm referring out an area, if Karen doesn't have a lead in that area, I get on LinkedIn and I see what kind of a profile they have there. So if you're not on there, that's your resume. But also you can be connecting and posting, you can post content there just like you do on Facebook and Instagram, same content in fact. So, social media. I think there's a really good way to look at this is 10 story engagements, 10 post engagements, and 5 direct messages daily. And so we all think about posting daily, which I think that's valuable, but it's the engagement that's so important. So going in and not just putting the little heart or the little like, but to actually go in and make a comment to them is going to have them tracking with you, and it keeps you more top of mind because people go in and look at what comments they're getting. So it's putting a little touch there in a positive, kind, generous, giving way when you're making nice comments on their stuff. And so, really valuable to do it this intensely. And the thing is, early in the day, if you get a good early start to your day, you can do a lot of the just busy work that I'm talking about here, the repetitive stuff, and things like making posts and story engagements and stuff. You can do that in the early hours or the late hours if you're a late night person, but you can do that in downtime where you aren't really able to be making phone calls and such. So really valuable, good stuff. Now again, with your posts, when you are making posts, you wanna make them client-centric. My internet's not working good with the sound, so I can't, it was earlier, but now we lost it all. But at any rate, one of the guys up at Aviara, I love what he's done. He's actually a fire captain and his wife's full-time realtor, but it's amazing how much he does in the business with the social media. He was doing Danny's daily motivational statements, which was just kind of fun, and they're really good. And then he started to put pictures of him and the family in with those motivational comments, kind of emulating them. But then he's very much into doing investment property. And so he started doing these little videos where he was the agent, and then it would switch over here and he was the client talking to the agent. It was really cleverly and done in a real cute way. See if I can get it to come up. Didn't think I'm gonna get the sound though.
Is sound up on your computer?
It is.
I'm interested in investing in your next
Yes.
multifamily deal. Can I use my IRA to fund the investment? Yes, you can. It's a very popular option for many of our investors. Why is that? Well, to defer taxes. As with any traditional IRA investment, the profit that is
So that's the idea though. That at any rate, so it was kind of a cute way that he did it. But there's a lot of clever, good ways that we can be out there, be entertaining but also informative to our clients. Those success stories that I talked about earlier, you can do a video talking about them like the chiropractor did, or acupuncturist. And then one of the things that I thought was really a powerful statement, and I'm gonna get into more how you can do this, but Michael Mayer, the author of that 7 Levels of Communication book, one of the things he posted on his social media was, this year, I wanna get 50 referrals. Sounds very egocentric, right? But he goes on to say, so I wanna give 100 referrals. And then he finishes, let me know how I can help refer you. And so he is wanting himself to be viewed as a connector, as somebody that refers a lot of business to others. And when you refer, oftentimes people want to reciprocate and refer back. They should. And so that I thought was a really powerful little post, and he followed through, and I'll show you some of the ways that he followed through with that. So, 2 areas that are really good about doing content is keeping current matters. And if you want to step up your game and do more video, I don't know if this is one of the ways you use. Do you use keeping current matters?
Yeah, I
Video?
use KCM.
Yeah, they're really good with content, and they actually have upped their game to send you content for video. It's all scripted. It goes on a little teleprompter. We've got the beautiful video room here. They import slides, and just with a couple clicks, it's uploaded to your social media. Couldn't be easier. So keeping current matters, highly recommend checking them out, both for regular posts, but also for the social media video. And then Coffee and Contracts has a different look. They are a little bit more soft and contemporary, but they too give you fresh content. They even give you kind of tutorials on how to take photos to put into your posts that are more engaging and such. So again, there's really good content out there. Anyone else use other areas for content that they like? Share? Okay. So far the plan of action has involved putting together your database, setting up an email program that should go out weekly, mailings that should go out quarterly at least, monthly preferred, and then social media that you're gonna work on daily. And the daily includes reaching out to people, commenting on their things, and doing some direct messaging there. All of this so far is kind of what I call soft touches. These are not the real personal touches yet. So, but with these, you need to be very consistent, and now we're gonna get into the personal contact. So, calls, daily. And you go, oh my gosh, who am I gonna call daily, and what am I gonna say? Well, there's a lot of great reasons you should be calling, and a lot of good people you should be calling. First of all, you wanna be calling, I suggest that if you start hopefully by 8 in the morning, 8 in the morning, you can spend that first 2 hours doing all the kind of minutiae I already talked about, which is important, but it's kind of just tactical things you're doing. And then starting around 10, you can start making these phone calls. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna be calling is, you wanna be calling your prospective clients, your current clients. Anyone that you're doing a current transaction with. So if you've got a listing, or you've got a buyer, or you've got an escrow that's going, this is your time to be checking up on those things. Then you wanna move into your prospective clients. And with this, be delving into this a little bit better, but how to cultivate a client into being, a prospective client into being an actual client. We're gonna do that in future months. But basically, you need to get face to face with those people in order to understand their story, and then to be able to help them, you know, share your story as to how you will help them accomplish their goals. And oftentimes, prospective clients, they don't wanna do something today. They wanna do something 6 months or a year from now. So how do you keep in touch with those? Well, those are calls you should be making daily, and we're gonna talk about how you're going to be doing that in future months. But just wanna plant a little idea in your head. You know, 48% of salespeople never follow up with the lead. Never. So they meet people at open house and they don't follow up. 48%. So that leaves a really good opportunity for everybody here. And 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And that's where I think, again, we fall down a lot, is we think, oh, they're ghosting me. Well, it may not be that. Maybe they just got busy with some other stuff, but they weren't trying to ghost you, and we quit calling. Or, you know, they, whatever, you know, they maybe aren't returning your call as quickly as you went and what have you, but we have to continue to call until they say they're not interested in doing something, because the sales are generally made on that 5th to 12th call. That's when the contact really works. And what I find with top agents is they really find creative and good ways to be in contact with people through this period when they're trying to cultivate them and keeping in touch. A big part of that is having knowledge in the industry, so we'll be building knowledge as we go through these in future months. And we have some really great speakers that are gonna be talking on some of those. But although the first few calls I just talked about there don't have anything to do with prospecting, which is technically what I'm talking on, it's important to start with those calls every day, because that's where the money's gonna be, where you're moving these prospecting calls into. So now you're gonna start your prospecting calls. And who you wanna start with is your 12 ambassadors. And you wanna be calling them monthly, at least monthly. And you always wanna be bringing something of value to them, and something that's gonna benefit them in a way that you can be very helpful, generous, giving, the things that we've talked about. So one of the first things I sometimes think, and I use this too when I was showing property, just to cultivate conversation, but you've probably heard of the Ford technique or the frog technique, but the little acronym, but the F stands for family. So you talk about their family and that. R is recreation, and with that, you know, what vacations they might be taking, what they like to do to recreate. The O is their occupation. People talk about their jobs quite often, and you can ask more questions there. And their goals. And with goals, you can also ask, you know, what's their biggest challenge right now? And kind of delve into that. And here's where one of the first ways you can start to refer others. Find out what they're struggling with right now, and there might be a way that you can help them connect with a solution for whatever they're challenged with right now. So be looking for ways that you can help others, and then be sure you take action, because the worst thing you can do is offer help and then not follow through. But if you are somebody that takes action, they're gonna look at you as being a good person to refer to. Call to offer, and this is something you do for your entire, you know, 112 people in your database, or 150, but call to offer them an update on their home value. Not saying, are you thinking of buying or selling, but this market's been going up and down and all over the place. Would you like a current market evaluation on your home? And with that, don't just shoot them some comps, because you know what, they can get online and get that pretty much through, you know, Zillow and what have you. It's about, you know, as good as shooting them some comps. You want to take it over to them, hand it off to them, have a conversation. Or if they prefer you to email it to them, then at least discuss it by phone what the comps are saying, so they get a real accurate idea of value. Again, that personal contact, and to keep you top of mind. Ask to meet them for coffee or a meal. Everybody in your top 12 you're going to want to do that with, which is one of the things I'm coming up on. So that would be one of your calls in a month. Quite often the people that are in your ambassadors list, you've got other connectedness to them. Like, you know, if it was Ed, he'd be playing pickleball with them probably. And so he might call to tell them about a pickleball tournament that's gonna be happening in San Clemente, and just having kind of fun commonality there. Or maybe an upcoming conference that you are going to that you know they would enjoy. I'm gonna talk in a moment about having an event for your sphere, and that's another thing you can call and invite them to. We used to always offer angel tickets and ram tickets when they were in town. We had some season tickets, and we'd call and offer those to our clients. And the fun thing there is you could go through 3 or 4 of them before you got a yes, and yet you made a positive touch with those 3 or 4. And then we also had a desert condo that we gave to our sphere, and that we always offered it to the ambassadors first before we gave it to the rest of our sphere. But if you're reluctant to make the calls to people, it's because you're probably making it more about you. You're thinking about you and how they're gonna look at you or what they're gonna think of you. But if you take the focus off of yourself and put it on your client and think about how you can help them or what you can do for them, it's much easier to make those calls. So be thinking in terms of good content to be calling with and good giving to be calling with, and you'll have better results. Now, a very lost art that is really a valuable thing to do is handwritten notes. And these, every time you meet with somebody, you should write a handwritten note. Every time you talk to someone on the phone, follow up with a little handwritten note. Sometimes if you haven't seen or talked to somebody in a while, send them a text or do a handwritten note is more powerful. Write notes to follow up on an event in their life. I just had a friend that posted some health issues that he's having on Facebook. And I wrote him I made some comments there, but I also sent a nice card. And I did it just out of caring, but ironically, because of these health issues, they may be thinking about downsizing and simplifying their lives. So we actually might get a referral lead out of it. But wasn't my intent in that instance, but you never know. Just the personal contacts with people do tend to move the business, and the handwritten notes show you really care. One of the things when you're writing a note is to always include a compliment or an affirmation. So think about something that you admire about them, and again, make it about them, not yourself, and when you're writing in the notes. So like with him, I put in some things that I really do admire about him, not just talking about the health issues. Many of you guys know Bob Wolf. Well, Bob Wolf, many years ago, he had a killer business going in Colorado, and he uprooted and came to California and started all over. And he was a master at writing handwritten notes. I remember the first time we met him for breakfast, he followed up with a handwritten note. He always was writing notes. You couldn't even read his writing, it wasn't even legible, but the effectiveness of doing a handwritten note was powerful, so much so that I remembered all these years later. So the next thing that you want to do is be doing meals and copies, and this is going to be with your ambassadors. And I'm going to throw in another one here, vendors. So your ambassadors, they're people of influence, they're connectors, and so getting in front of them multiple times is going to be very helpful, and being face to face with them. One of the things you want to do is have it at the same restaurant each time. And when you go to that restaurant, always tip well, get to know the staff, so they kind of make you look good, and it's a really good connectedness there within the restaurant, and they'll take good care of you and your ambassador. And then the other thing too is perhaps if you're going to have multiple meetings, let's say you're meting with one of your ambassadors, but you're also set up a vendor meeting right after that. Set them up kind of so they are stacked. They'll go one to the next, and that way you've got mutual affirmations that can go on between the two clients and the staff. So it's kind of all a connectedness, and you've got a home court advantage is the bottom line. What I'm saying there. Not only that, and I, as many of you know, eat out every meal, and without even realizing it, we've made really good connections with people at restaurants, and we've got a lot of business out of there. You think that, a server probably can't really afford to buy. Absolutely they can. We've helped people buy homes, and then also they're so connected. They know a lot of people. Again, it's that 150 times 150. You're broadening your reach. So not to judge people by what you think they can or can't do. It's not only what they can do, but it's also who they know. And so meeting at the restaurant can be really good. Another thing to do with your ambassadors, if you've got a really stellar ambassador, let's say one that gives you 2 or 3 leads in a year, You wanna have a go deep day with them. You wanna know what they love and then take them and do that with them. You know, pick them up in a limo and take them to the Angel game and get them in the luxury box if you can, or at least the diamond level or whatever, where they can eat and everything. But make it really special on something that they would enjoy. Now I mentioned vendors you should take to meals too. Who more should be giving you business than people that you are good at giving business to? And so this is the one place where you actually should ask for some business in a nice, soft way. In other words, I want to be giving you business. How can I help give you more business? But I also would appreciate you sending business my way. Now, there are some exceptions here. We all work with lenders and title people, and they work with a lot of agents. So they obviously can't give everybody leads and refer everybody business. So that's the one little caveat there. But if you have a window cleaner, an accountant, a painter, a handyman, I mean, people that you are regularly giving business to, they know people that are moving, and plant the idea that you would appreciate them referring back to you the way you refer to them. And you should do that over a meal or coffee. Now, Popeyes. We're a big Popeye company, and I think Popeyes should be done 3 times a year. The thing with Popeyes is you want to take them by to all your ambassadors and all your champions. And this is some that Amy has. She was sharing at our last team meeting. She has all her Popeyes. She's got 4 actually she's going to do here. And she has them set all ready for the whole year. So it's done, sealed, and ready to be delivered. Whitaker's. They did the Stanley Cup to all of their ambassadors. And I love this cup. I have it with me everywhere I go. And it's branded to the Whitakers, so a really nice thing. You'll see here Ruth, I love this. She has a lady that will put pictures on almost anything, but she did it with mugs at Christmas time, and she pulled a picture off your Facebook, put it on the mug. So every morning when I have coffee, I think of my boys, and then Ruthie. If you don't want to go to that extent or that expense, Terry Bruno did something super simple. She went over to Mom Pa Kettle and just branded they always have seasonal colors for their kettle corn, and so she just put a little sticker on and branded it to herself. Couldn't be any easier. So there's a lot of different ways to do that, but it's getting out there. And as you talk to people, let me go back, oops. When you do your Popeyes, obviously if they're not there, take a picture and text it to them and say, sorry I missed you, but left a little goodie for you on your front porch. So they notice it there, because a lot of people go in through their garage. And then if you do get a chance to talk to them, that's an opportunity to do a handwritten note and make a nice follow-up. And when you're talking to them, ask them if there's anything that you can be helping with. Be a connector, be a referrer, so that they think of you that way too, and follow up with any solutions. Now, finally, holding an annual event. Every year our team does a challenge, and this last year we challenged everybody on the team to do an annual event for their sphere. And boy, did they come to town and do spectacular things. This is the charcuterie board that, hopefully I said that right, that Max did for her Let's Gather. She put together a real cute thing. She showed them how to do the boards. She showed them how to design gift baskets. This was all around Thanksgiving. And then she gave them some new food ideas for Thanksgiving, and she asked them to bring their printed, a copy of a favorite recipe, and then she put together a nice little recipe book that she was able to then do as a Popeye after she put it all together. So a lot of different ways she was able to make contact with people for this event. We had people Steve does his annual beach party down at the Mallorca Beach part for not only his geographic farm, but he invites a lot of his sphere. Kasha did a client's giving, which I didn't get the people in this picture, but she had a really fun event where she does Pilates, and so she shared some stretching with people, and then she gave little goodie bags and had good food, and she had Tom do a little talk on lending too, so it tied it in with her passion and then also with properties. And then Michaela and Matt, they've got the little ones, and so they did an Easter egg brunch and egg hunt, and it was masterfully put together. She even had her sister dress up as the Easter Bunny for pictures.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
And then Max did another event where she just did a little ice cream social in a park near her home. There's so many great, easy ways to do it. Some of the people did events, as you saw here, the Clients Giving and the Let's Gather were both done right here in the Regency room. So definitely puts the mindset that it's for business. And the fun thing with an event is that you can do something that is, that you might be passionate about. I used to love to do client teas, but you have to, teas, that sounded funny. But you have to make sure that people recognize that it is for business, not that you're pushing business on them. But I know sometimes people do social events like maybe a bunko party. That's awesome, that's a great way to connect with clients, but make sure there's something there that does designate just the soft mention of real estate somehow. I know Amy and Ruth did the Cinco de Mayo party. They did it right out here in the courtyard. And so that was a really, I should have had,
It was fun.
who else did it with you?
Veronica.
Veronica, yeah. Did it with you. Nancy loves decorating cookies, and she does that as her pop-by every pop-by. And so she did a cookie decorating class to show her clients how to decorate the cookies too. So there's so many different things you can do. And the fun thing is you can invite people, a lot of the things I've already talked about, the mailing, the emails, the pop-bys and all that, social media, all those tie into giving you, this gives you content for all of those, I guess is what I should say. So invitations can be mailed out. Invitations can be sent through the email. Video's even better if you do a video email. Social media, again, video or a post or both. Handwritten notes. Handwritten notes to invite people is powerful good. You've made two really nice touches. One, to invite them, but also they're more likely to come because of the handwritten note. Phone calls, again, a nice phone call and say, hey, are you gonna be joining us for the event that I sent you? Those types of things help up the game of who's gonna be there. And then I used to actually do a pop-by with a little something that was related to the tea theme that year and invite people to come. And the good thing too is that when you are making all these touches, whether or not people come, they're seeing you in different ways. Now, here's another way to be a connector, is when you have an event, like you guys had a DJ at yours, right?
No, we had live music.
Or live music,
Just
that's
we
right.
played the guitar and sang.
That's right, okay, so that was there, you guys had a caterer, I know. Whoever you use, maybe you have a photographer, work it so that you can get them referrals through the event. Michael Mayer, when I listened to his podcast, which I will share that info with you later in just a minute, the podcast, he talks about how he tries to get referrals at every event for himself, but he's also trying to get them for others that are coming to the event, or that are helping him, the vendors. And so, like, I know one person was a guest on one of his podcasts and said they got 81 referrals. I'm like, 81 referrals? Well, a lot of those were to the vendors. So he got referrals for his DJ and his caterer and things like that, which is real, in the photographer. That was really cool, but he also then got referrals himself. And the really nice thing too is if you're good about getting referrals for your vendors, they will likely either comp you or reduce their fees because you're giving them better success in their business. So it really, works both ways. The other thing too, take pictures at your event and then send out follow-up things to show what you did. And again, that's another touch with everybody. So you can do it through social media posts, emails, whatever.
One little fun thing, Angie, that was fun at our event is we got those silly photo booth props.
Yes.
So when people were signing up for our drawing, we just would take pictures with the props, and then we print them later. It was really cute. Everybody was into it.
Well, and I know this ties perfectly into what I was gonna say next. You sent out handwritten notes with the photos of people that were taken there, didn't you?
I did,
Yeah, because I remember getting one with me with the grandkids, and Ed. But yeah,
People
so
don't print out pictures.
they don't anymore. And so she sent the printed picture in a little handwritten note, and it was really special to get that. And so much so for your clients too. And so that's another reason to do handwritten notes. And just all the positive touches. Now I know, I'm talking like kind of big events here, but I know Brent and Maurice are big on doing smaller events, more intimate events. They do these really nice dinners with their sphere, small little groups of their sphere throughout the year. They also do housewarming parties. I didn't think it was called. They do client housewarming parties when they close. Another powerful good way to make a really positive impact and expand your database. There's so many, and that could be a seminar in itself, how to work that. But at any rate, after an event like this, you want to be sure to update your database. That's another one of those connected things. So, so I want to kind of summarize everything that we've talked about here, bring it to a close. This probably sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but I showed you at the beginning how it's 80% of our business last year came from just this. If that doesn't tell you that this is a really important thing to do, and if you do 150 people times 150, you've got such a broad reach, and so we don't even have to talk, huge numbers or huge things. I'm just talking about having like that 112, the 12 ambassadors and the 100 champions that you just make really solid good impacts with. So it is work, but it's work that's very manageable, and also a lot of it can be outsourced. So most of us have worked 9-to-5 jobs, and earlier we were sharing like the worst job we ever had. And I know a lot of you guys haven't really had worse jobs, but but normally the worst jobs that people did share about, they were for minimal pay too. So it's not only you're doing an icky job, you're doing it for almost nothing. We have the ability through our generosity and giving and appreciation and showering love on others that we can get business and make good income doing it. And so this is not a tough job. I mean, if you say choose your heart, it's like not even a contest. So with that, I want to say this is kind of a summary sheet of what I was talking about doing so far. So weekly, you want to send emails to everybody. Monthly, or at least quarterly, you want to send out mailings to everybody. Social media, you want to be posting to everybody daily and going in and making touches with people, hopefully at least 25 a day, as we talked about there. Then the handwritten notes you're going to be doing to your ambassadors and champions as on a daily basis, but get some out every week. And then calls you want to be doing daily with your following up with your current business, but then also reaching out to your sphere, your ambassadors. So that's just the ambassadors. Coffees, meals, and dates are with your ambassadors and your vendors. I don't have that on here. Pop buys 3 times a year. That's with your ambassadors and your champions, and then an annual event. Now, as you put all this together, if you literally would dedicate 2 hours a day in the morning to doing a lot of this work, you could really do it like in a 5-day week, 2 hours like Monday through Friday, and then start for the office type work, and then starting at 10 doing your phone calls, and then have a lunch after that, once a week. You really could be doing this, and that's not a ton of effort for prospecting to get the 80% of the business. So kind of think of it that way. Now, you'll have to step it up a little bit when you do your pop buys in your event. Those will draw in a little extra time, but we aren't talking huge amounts of time. And a lot of it can be systemized. In fact, if you're trying the DIY approach, which we all do when we're starting a business because we don't have a lot of money and we have more time, but later on you're going to have hopefully more money and less time because you'll have clients. But think about it this way: if you are spending time doing work that's $10 to $25 an hour, then that's the worth that you see you're worth. And again, going back to that dreaming big, if you're dreaming big, hopefully you see yourself worth more than that an hour, and you should be outsourcing those things. So I was asking Corey, he uses a lot of virtual assistants, and he says the best ones are actually overseas. The Philippines is wonderful. They speak English, they can do a lot, they're educated, and he says you can get a really good person for $7 to $10 there. So a lot of this stuff that is systemized, a lot of it you can systemize, so it just automates, and then others you can systemize and have somebody put it out there. But you must be the person that does the personal contact. So you have to be the one making the calls. You have to be the one doing the pop buys. Don't have somebody just go drop stuff by. You need to be the one obviously doing the coffee and meals and the events. So, but you can have somebody else behind the scenes setting a lot of that stuff up. So they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Ed and I really loved what we do. Hence, you've not gotten rid of us yet. But loving what you do doesn't mean you love every aspect of it. So, you know, there's some tedium to what I've talked about here today, but it's got such an upside when you get in there and delve in and do it. And what I'm talking about is kind of showering love on others. So, I mean, what a tough job. We get to bring value into people's lives through generosity and giving and appreciation. And kind of think that is your mantra, the generosity, giving, and appreciation. If we can do those three things as we reach out to clients, whatever we're doing, whether it's emails or texts or mailings, whatever it is, kind of have that in the back of your mind. What am I doing that's doing that? That will help attract that business to you. And it feels really good to be generous. That's kind of one of the things that I love about this job. And when I talked about writing notes, the very compliment that you give to somebody on a particular day might be the very thing that they needed that day. I mean, how special is that? Haven't you had something like that happen to you? You get to be on the giving side of that, which is really special. And what's really nice is that when you are generous at giving referrals, people tend to respond in kind. When you appreciate that somebody gave you a referral, people want to give you more referrals. And you aren't necessarily doing it just for that purpose, but it really does naturally happen and it attracts business to you. And so I have it on good authority that the law of giving really does work. As Jesus said, give and it'll be given to you. A good measure pressed down, shaken together, running over will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And so take the focus off yourself and put it on other people, and the numbers will take care of themselves. We don't have to be focusing on those numbers, but just being generous. And as Michael Mayer says, be the gen generation. But want to challenge you guys. If anybody wants to really delve into doing this in a real die-hard way, I am committed to coming in the next 4 Mondays from 10:30 to 11:30 and helping people implement their plan, answer any questions, because everybody will personalize this a little bit to themselves, but you gotta be careful not to cut back too much. This really will work if you do this. If you did this fully, you will have a ton of business this year. But so if people are interested in doing that, I'd like you to text me or email me. Excuse me, I'll leave my email in just a moment. And the main thing too is to push through any of the negative thoughts that you're gonna have that are gonna have you stopping from doing the full program. So I love this definition of commitment. It says not giving into your thoughts or feelings, but pushing through to accomplishment, no matter what. And so if you wanna do that, that's the challenge this month. Just do it. Next month, I am excited that Will Scott is going to be talking on negotiations. This is one of those areas where you're gonna be able to up your skills. Some of the things he's gonna talk about is tactical empathy, knowing your worth, creating problem solving, and the 4 C's. I don't know exactly what the 4 C's are, but I'm looking forward to finding out. So at any rate, I hope you'll join us back here next month, excuse me. It should be very good. And this is the resources that I have referenced throughout if anybody wants to follow up. And my email's at the bottom. And if you want to be part of the challenge, then email me and let me know, and then I will be here at 10:30 on Monday. All right.
Thanks, Angie.
Angie?
Yes.
I have a quick question. I think it'd be good to kind of get a poll from people, like who they use for email blast and stuff, to see what are, what companies and stuff. I think if we could start giving resources on stuff like that.
That would be really good.
What's that little thing that you're doing those quizzes on? Like maybe we can.
Slido. Yeah. They put a few questions out there on the internet right when I started. It's like,
I actually love MailChimp. That's what Dan uses. I just told you mine. But MailChimp is changing though. They're lowering, you used to be able to have 2,000 people for free, and they're changing it this month to 500.
I can't believe you stayed with the whole thing. You could have taught it.
Pay, right?
Stop this.
That's great.